What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com. And first and foremost, if you guys are watching this on the YouTube channel and you guys don't see all the clutter behind me, huge shout out to my amazing wife, Allison, for cleaning and rearranging my entire office. It looks spotless in here. Huge shout out to her. Guys, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how your character is your destiny. And it's all about leaving a legacy. I talked about this, honestly, I want to say a few weeks back about leaving a legacy. But specifically, I want to go into a little bit more details about this in for as how to motivate you, how to inspire you, how to even hold yourself a little bit more accountable to really making sure that you're making the right decisions each and every day. Because at the end of the day, that's what Heartletics is and how we help out our guys that sign up for our coaching program is we help guys transform, not just physically, but mentally as well, by giving them all the tools to succeed, not just on their health and fitness journey, but obviously into achieving any goal that they want by helping them become the best version of themselves, the 2.0 version. So let's get started in today's episode. We're going to be once again talking about how your character is your destiny. And I want to start off by simply asking you guys a question, okay? And if you guys are listening to this on podcast, obviously just take a few seconds and just pause and think about it, right? You can't really respond back. But if you guys are watching this, on the YouTube channel, obviously do me a favor and comment down below, engage with this video, and let me know, what does integrity mean to you? So me and one of my close friends, Nick, we work out at the gym usually every morning together. And we were just talking about this the other day during one of our workouts, and it was the definition of integrity. And I forget why we started talking about it. I think I was talking about my dad or maybe some past work experience, but nonetheless, we were talking about the definition of integrity. And it's crazy because we always joke around how we're brothers that got separated at birth because we're so identical. And he's like, listen, man, he's like, I have a really good definition of integrity. And I was like, hey, before you say anything, here's my definition. And it was word for word what Nick was about to say, which is so crazy. But I want to know from you guys. And obviously, I'll share with that next year, my definition or our definition, I should say. I want to know from you guys. So once again, if you're watching this right on the YouTube channel, comment down below. And if you guys are listening on the podcast, just think about it, right? Maybe you already spent that time thinking about it so far. What does integrity mean to you? To me, integrity means doing the right things when no one else is looking. Let me repeat that. Integrity means doing the right things when no one else is looking. Now, throughout my course career of jobs that I had, right, so far in my years of youthfulness, right, which was I worked at a movie theater, which was by far, besides Heartletics, the best job in the world. If anybody has ever worked in a movie theater before, let me know. Greatest experience ever. I really hope my son, when he's older, works at a movie theater because the things that you learn is awesome. And plus, it's just a great time. It's a great experience. I'm a movie fanatic, so I think that's why I resonated with that. And then I worked at Giant Eagle, which is just a grocery store that we have over here in Cleveland, Ohio. And I that was great because I got to work with my brother also at the time. I was a stock boy and cashier, and then he was working, in the produce section. And real quick, shout out to everybody that has subscribed or tuning in religiously to the podcast and also the YouTube channel. Because tomorrow's episode that I'm going to be going over is how I literally got knocked out in boxing. And that is, I'm going to go over a little bit more about me and my brother's relationship as well and how things changed dramatically. Plus, I got knocked out. So if you're somebody, which you probably aren't because I doubt you'd be listening to this content anyways, but let's just say you don't like me. Well, guess what? I'm going to tell you about how I got knocked out. So you can probably just smile and smirk, whatnot. So nonetheless, make sure that you're subscribed if you haven't already. So hit that little subscribe button, turn on that bell notification. That way, when that episode is posted, you guys will be notified. Okay. So I worked at Giant Eagle, and then I had a job working in marketing at hospice, which was very eye-opening because they took us on a tour to one of the hospice homes. And if you guys don't know anything about hospice, it's a nonprofit organization where when people are passing to the other side, when people are on their way out, when people are going to be dying, right? I hate saying that, but that's what it is. It's a hospice house, really helping them in that transition, helping also with the families as well. And it was very, very eye-opener experience, very life-changing as well working there. Um, Also very sad because when we had to do our tours around the hospice house, I remember the first tour, the lady there, I think she was a nurse, she was telling us about like dementia and Alzheimer's and what occurs and everything like that. And it's just very, very sad. Um, so if you have anybody in your family dealing with Alzheimer's or dementia, just know my heart pours out to you because I understand that is very, very hard to deal with. Um, and then moving up the corporate ladder, I worked at Fastenal. I was a sales rep for there, and I progressed, and went up to become actually a sales manager for Fastenal. And I love that job also. Everybody was super cool. I loved the customers that I was dealing with. Like it was just a fun. But every single job that I had, and obviously I worked in gyms, PT, different boxing gyms I worked at also with group fitness. I did a lot of group fitness, a lot of it, right? The one-on-one, and I don't do any personal training like one-on-one right now. Everything's all online. Just simply because when I'm training somebody face to face, and hear me out, this is why I, coach clients online and not in person. When I train someone face to face, it's a great time, right? They get to see and hear from me and feel motivated. But at the end of the day, it's lacking a lot of accountability outside of that gym setting. There is no accountability when it comes down to nutrition. And sure, I can say somebody to motivate somebody, but at the end of the day, daily habits equals success. And I'll just leave it at that, right? So, like, to really change somebody's life, it's creating habits specifically for that individual where they're also learning how to do things on their own, right? Maybe you heard the phrase that you can give a man a fish and feed him for a day, or you can teach a man how to fish and feed him for the rest of their life. Well, that's what we want to do at Heartletics. We want to coach and teach our guys that sign up for our coaching program on how to become the best version of themselves once and for all. So, like I said, that's why I don't do in-person training anymore. Plus, at the end of the day, let's face the facts here. There's only 24 hours in a day. So being burnt out from the early mornings hours in the gym to the very late evenings in the gym, yeah, that I was not a fan of that. That beat me up completely, and there was no work-life balance. Granted, I'm obsessed with Heartletics and I'm literally working 24/7, but I'm here with my family. It's a little bit different, right? There's a good happy medium work-life balance, especially, and I'm always saying this, I'm grateful for all the coaches on staff at Heartletics to help me through this journey with coaching everybody. So it's not just me doing all the work. So for somebody that's tuning in also, understand this. When you sign up for coaching, right, you get multiple coaches, right? Not just one coach, you get me and my team, right? And that's the benefit of having 24/7 support and accountability, right, from multiple coaches helping you every step of the way. I think since I mentioned this on a recent podcast episode, I don't know what it is, but every single client seems like these days are sending us over restaurant menus. And it's funny because I'm pretty sure me and Coach Mark, we make it a mission, right, to say who's going to reply back to that person the first, right? And it's funny because somebody will send us over a menu to scan over, tell us what they're going to eat. And it's like, 2 minutes later, Mark replies. And then, a minute after that, I'll reply back with some options. So it's just fun. Me and Mark, I feel like we have this little battle going on, like who can reply first and the fastest, which is fun because as a client, like think about it, like Bish, for example, one of our clients, and I know I talked about this on one of the recent podcast episodes. He was literally sitting down at the restaurant, scanned over the menu. He's like, guys, unexpected trip to the restaurant. Like, what do I get to eat here? Help me out. And once again, 2 minutes, Mark replies. And then a few minutes after that, I sent him over a personal video with some options. So it's just, you can see when you're a coaching client with Heartletics, what kind of support you're given, right? What we're willing to do to go above and beyond to ensure that you feel supported. You ensure that also you feel like you're the only client on the program. You guys know that there's hundreds of other guys and girls inside the community groups, inside of the coaching program, but anybody can say that they feel like they're the only clients. And that's what makes it very, very, different from most coaching programs, very personal. But anyways, all these jobs, right? The reason why I was telling you all this, right? I had to put it all together for you, right? I had to walk you through this story. All these jobs that I had, I've always remembered, right? And this was back when I worked in the movie theater, and it was my first boss. I believe his name was Brian or Brad. I can't remember that. Once again, I got knocked out. So I don't have the best memory, right? I had a concussion. Anyways, Brian or Brad, I'm pretty sure it was Brian. He was my boss at the movie theater. He was the general manager. And I remember him telling me, because I remember like brand new, you're just trying to clean the movie theaters as fast as you can, get on to the next one, right? Well, he was watching me at the very top of like inside where you see, if you've ever been in a movie theater, you can see that obviously like there's stairs and it slants up. And then at the very top, there's the projector that goes onto the screen that displays the movie that you're about to watch with your family. Well, guess what? He was spying on me. And I didn't know it. And like, it was like my first few weeks on the job. I've never had a job before, like where it's a W-2 and stuff like that. So he's watching me, you know? And I remember I was cutting some corners. I remember I was leaving some rows or not like leaving some rows unattended, not checking the cup holders, whatever, if there's any like, little candies or wrappers in there. And I remember like certain areas, right, I would avoid it because I would just like kind of like peep over, right, and say like, oh, it looks clean. But I didn't actually walk over there. And I'll never forget, right? Brian calls me up to his office and I'm scared, right? Because at the time I don't know, 15, 16 years old. I mean, I can't even drive. I'm riding a bike and walking to work. Like that's how young I am, right? And he just sits me down in the office. He shuts the door. And I just remember telling him, he's like, do you know what the definition of integrity is? And I'm like, no. Just like, it just caught me and I was completely caught off guard. And he said, it's when you're doing the right things when no one else is looking. And that stuck with me for the rest of my life. And maybe you guys had similar experiences where somebody says something to you and it sticks for the rest of your life. I'll say it like this, right? Heartletics, we're known for that, right? Like Brett, who I mentioned in yesterday's podcast episode, we had a weekly Zoom chat and he hops in there. He's like, Joe, I listened to your Going All In podcast. He's like, that flipped a switch. He's like, you said X, Y, and Z. And that helped me flip a switch mentally where I realized I need to go a little bit harder. I realized I need to push myself a little bit more and stop being complacent, stop being compliant, right? And so sometimes somebody says something to you that leaves a mark, right? And we trust me, our one-on-one coaching at Heartletics, we're constantly making things easier for somebody where it just rings a bell. It sticks in their head. That's what creating habits is for, right? And so now when we give you the analogy of how to do things properly, and obviously you enjoy doing it, it's habits that work best for your lifestyle, you guys already know, right? It's going to be there for the rest of your life, plain and simple. So backtrack, right? Brian's has me in his office and he's telling me, do you know the definition of integrity? And I said, no. He's telling me it's when you're doing the right things when no one else is looking. And there's so much truth to that. So much truth to that. And what I want to question you guys is, what are you doing when no one else is looking? The title of today's episode is Your Character is Your Destiny. What does that mean? What does the destiny mean? Well, you can, in terms of leave it as that or your legacy, which means that, this is going to be something that's down the road. A legacy is not something that's right now. It's usually when you passed, right? It's usually decades and decades and decades after you've already been gone. That's a legacy, right? You're leaving something that people can remember you by, right? Maybe a destiny is a shorter time frame than a legacy, but nonetheless, a destiny and a legacy, it still applies to the same thing. It's about that future you, the future you, not right now, but in the future. So my question, what are your daily actions today? What are you doing today to leave a better legacy? Because your character, that's your destiny, plain and simple. And what is your character traits? What are your daily habits? Are you the type of person that, tells your kids to, eat the vegetables and avoid the sugar, but integrity kicks in, right? Remember, doing the right things when no one else is looking. And let's say your kids go to sleep. Let's say you had a long, stressful day and you realize they got some cookies and some Ho-Hos and Twinkies, whatever, inside the pantry. And you're just smashing on all that. Or maybe you know for a fact, like, hey, I really want to get in shape. I want to lose some weight. But you're always eating the leftovers, right, for your kids because you grew up with this, hey, I don't want to waste any food mentality. And that carried you on into your adult life to where now your kids will leave, their cakes, their sugars, their, chicken nuggets, whatever. And they're like, well, I don't want to waste any food, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and eat it. And I get that, but like think about this. Then that guilt factor typically kicks in the next few days. Typically, you see yourself in the mirror and you're like, holy cow, like I don't like the way I look. And then you feel really, really bad. You're like, oh man, like I better do something about this. And so then you go do something. Maybe it's like fasting or, a bunch of workouts or a bunch of cardio. Maybe it's cutting out carbs, something, right? And then you guys know story. Typically, life throws you some curveballs. You get stressed out, you get derailed. Next thing you know, you're once again eating all your kids' leftovers and all their snacks inside the pantry after they go to sleep. I'm pretty sure that happened with any parent that will ever listen to this podcast episode. 100% facts, right? It's until you know and have the right understanding that your character is your destiny and you need to have imprinted in your mindset the definition of integrity. What are you doing when no one else is looking? Plain and simple. Like, it's cool and all to work out. It's cool and all to like post that on social media and like before and after photos and stuff like that. But let's face the facts here, people. What about the hard times? When you don't feel like showing up? When is that integrity kicking in there? We always say it like this. Successful people do what they have to do whether they feel like it or not. And I feel like when somebody really masters the definition of integrity and what it truly means to them, they will become successful. So you need to look at it in terms of this. You always need to focus on what is the daily habits that you're doing today. Sit back for a minute, ask yourself, is that hurting you or helping you for that future self? Are you leaving a destiny? Are you leaving a legacy? Or are you just, hey, I'm compliant, I'm complacent, I don't really care about my health too much, I don't prioritize it, nor, and this is where the real, Joe Callari right hook comes in, right? Nor you don't care about leading better by example. Because that's the reality of it. And I think that's why I'm so happy that I got yelled at, and I'm pretty sure I got written up at that time for cutting corners in that movie theater, because it was a life lesson at that time. My very first job ever at the movie theater, a life lesson opportunity where somebody told me the definition of integrity is doing the right things when no one else is looking, and you weren't doing the right things, Joe. I was sneaking, I was looking behind your back, right? You were not doing the right things. You got caught. Like that's not fun. But here's the thing that stuck with me. So hopefully the words that I'm saying right now as I'm speaking to you guys, something's going to stick with you. Just like what I said. I don't even remember what I said. I probably said something fire because all these podcast episodes are pure fire. I probably said something that was amazing that sparked something in Brett in the episode where he said we would go all in. He listened to that episode and something, flipped that switch in his mindset. Hopefully that happens with you today listening to this episode. Integrity means doing the right things when no one else is watching. What are you doing? But most importantly, what are you doing when no one else is watching by leading better by example? So hear me out. Let's talk about walking, for example, something that anybody can easily do. Maybe you don't feel like going and getting your steps in. Maybe you don't feel like getting up and moving around, right? But here's the thing. You have to remind yourself, successful people do what, successful people do, right? Whether they feel like it or not. They show up, they put in the work. And so maybe it's about being that pick-me-up. Maybe it's means about, pushing yourself even when you don't feel like it, but then deep down inside, right? Integrity. What are you doing when no one else is watching? Are you constantly doing the right things? You should be going for a walk. Because at the end of the day, let's face the facts here. If you can just walk, if you can eat healthy, if you can focus on the right mindset, you can easily burn some body fat. Plain and simple. You can easily have more energy. You don't need to go do burpees and jumping jacks and, go do squats and deadlifts. Like, no. You can do some simple things, right? It's called the fundamentals of fat loss. And I talk about this in another podcast episode that you guys need to go listen to. You can do all this, right? In the easiest manner ever. But there's going to be plenty of times in your life where you don't feel like doing it. So maybe if you can't trick yourself mentally into understanding, hey, Joe always says successful people do what they have to do, whether they feel like it or not. Maybe that doesn't resonate with you. And that's okay. But maybe integrity does. And remember, To me at least, integrity is doing the right things when no one else is watching. So what are you doing each and every day to, obviously your character is your destiny. What are you doing better to lead by example? What are you doing to leave a legacy? Whether you feel like it or not, your time here on earth, you have other people watching you. Plain and simple. The effect that you leave on others is the most valuable currency there is. What's the effect that you're leaving? Are you being that type of parent, that type of father, that type of mother, that type of individual that when you walk in a room, people just instantly vibe with you? They're like, oh man, this guy has some good vibrations. He just feels very positive, feels very, uplifting. Like, I like being around this guy. Like, there's a glow about you. Or is it dark? Is it depressed? Is it, and you guys know these types of people. Everybody has these types of people that they have to be, surrounded with. Maybe they're their coworkers, maybe even family members, right? You know when, hey, somebody's a very uplifted, high vibration person compared to somebody that's a lower vibration person, where it just seems like they always have this black cloud around them 24/7. And you're like, dude, like, go away, man. Stay away from me. I'm having a good day. At the end of the day, you guys need to understand this. How you do one thing is how you do everything. What do you, once again, it's cool to, post stuff on social media that you're working out and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what are you doing when times are hard? What are you doing when no one else is watching? That's what matters most. And like, this could be an episode that you guys take away from and teach it to your kids. Hey, like, Joe's right about this. Integrity does mean doing the right things when no one else is watching. And maybe as yourself, as a parent, as you're trying to teach your kids, you can use an example that happened in your life. Similar to how when I was in the movie theaters, I was cutting corners and I got in trouble for that. But at the end of the day, that was a really good thing because here I am today, 15, 16, 18 years ago, right? And I still stuck with that. It was a life-changing lesson. And tomorrow, I'm going to share with you guys another life-changing lesson where I got knocked the F out, right? In a sparring match, like cold, like literally, like I was out for 11 minutes, snoring in the middle of the boxing canvas. Not fun, right? Waking up, wondering, like, where am I? Not fun at all. I'm going to give you guys the scoop on all that tomorrow. So make sure, once again, that you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel, right? Turn on the little bell notification as well. That way you'll be notified when that new video is published. And if you guys are checking this out on a podcast episode, make sure you do me one huge favor, right? One, obviously, come back tomorrow. Check out that podcast episode where, I talk about getting knocked the F out. Because they're going to definitely learn some life lessons. But here's the thing. If you learn some life lessons today, maybe something I said to you triggered something deep down inside where you realize, like, yeah, I can resonate to this. This does mean a lot. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Integrity, right, simply means doing the right things when no one else is watching you. And it's all about leading better by example. All about leading a better future, leading a better path. So that way those that follow you, they don't have to be where you were at or where you're currently at right now. Maybe you're lacking confidence, lacking energy, not liking the way that you look, not liking the way that you feel. Guess what? Maybe you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I'm pretty sure you don't want that to happen to your kids when they get to your age, right? Nobody does. But now here's the bright side. No matter how old are you, you're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. Somebody recently got signed up for coaching. They're in their 70s. There's always time to make a change. If you wake up and you have breath in your lungs, guess what? You should be thanking God because there's a lot of people that did not wake up this morning. So you should always start off the day grateful. But know this, that if you can move and you can breathe, you can make a change happen in your life. It's not over yet. Your chapter, your book isn't closed yet. You can continue writing this story to your life and continue to have this great success, right? This comeback. A recent UFC match, right? Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards, I think he won the first round, but other than that, he was getting dominated the next 3 rounds. And it's the last round, the last minute of the fight. Leon Edwards is about to lose. He sneaks in a beautiful knockout head kick. Go watch it on YouTube. It's very inspiring to see. And I want you to understand that that could be you guys also, right? It's not over. Just because you lost a whole bunch of rounds in the fight does not mean the fight's over. Plain and simple. Just because you lost the battle doesn't mean you lost the war. If you start prioritizing yourself and start knowing that, hey, each and every day you have an opportunity to leave a legacy. You have an opportunity to change and inspire other people's lives based on your actions. I know for a fact, right? You can do it, but you need to understand, what are you doing when no one else is watching? What, how you do one thing is how you do everything, plain and simple. So, if you guys got any value at all from today's episode, I highly, I would just say this all the time, right? I highly recommend that you guys just share this on your social media. If you guys want, please tag me, maybe post me in like a Facebook story or Instagram story or, Facebook post and tag me in it. That way I can just, reshare that as well, because that means the world to me when I hear that I said something, right, that just clicked, right? And somebody could take away from just me speaking at my laptop in my office, right? They can take away from some of the words that I said and said, "Holy cow, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this piece of advice. This was very valuable. It's gonna stick with me." I want other people to also know how valuable this podcast episode was as well. And so the fact that you're sharing this, that means the world to me, and I really, really am grateful for that. Other than that, I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. Remember, tune in tomorrow because I'm going to be talking about how I got knocked the F out and how that was one of the best life-changing experiences also that happened in my life. And then lastly, once again, thank you for tuning in. This has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com.